When you give today to AFA Action, you're helping to protect the innocence of children. We'll also give you a free copy of Mark's story. It's the latest DVD in our Impact series. Visit afaaction.net today. afaaction.net.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. And today's Wednesday, March the 6th, 2024. Joining me in studio is Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning.
Good morning, Fred Jackson.
Good morning to you, Tim, and happy birthday.
Well,
Sorry, I forgot already.
the day's not over yet.
Happy birthday.
Are you talking about getting me a gift?
Well,
You got me a gift on Sunday.
I got you a gift,
Right.
but I had an opportunity right there to wish you happy birthday.
Right.
I passed it, and Fred
That's
picked
okay.
it up.
Yeah, it's a team effort.
That's right.
It is my birthday, 1963. For those who want to steal my identity, I'm about to give you my Social Security number. Nowadays you're paranoid about saying anything.
Yeah.
What's your name? Me.
Oh, I hesitate
That's my
answering
name.
any question.
Huh?
When I go to the doctor
Right.
or
You give them the bare information?
That's right.
My
Yep.
name's...
I've actually got to the point where I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm
Right.
not filling this out, and then the burden's on them. No, you either you have to do it
Fill it out.
or not, and you'd be surprised about 90% of the time I'm getting there. They go, all right, sounds good, and you're like,
Well,
why did you ask for it to begin with if I didn't need it?
Your mom and my wife,
Yeah.
she is only in the last probably 3 years that she had an email.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, she got an email like 3 or 4 years ago. Before that, she never even had an email.
She was off the grid.
No Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
no nothing. A phone and maybe texting was her. But anyway, she would tell people they'd go everywhere we'd go. They'd say, if she go to shopping or whatever,
Hey.
ma'am, can I have your email? I don't have an email. They'd look at her like she had 3 heads. What? You don't have an email?
Yeah.
She finally got one because you almost got to have one to live in this world. But
Sure.
anyway, so the staff this morning here at American Family Association, American Family Radio, wish me a happy birthday in our staff devotional.
Mm-hmm.
And more than that, what was more meaningful to me, at least, was the warm blueberry donuts.
And they were
fresh.
warm.
They were still warm.
Mm.
They weren't bought yesterday.
Boxes of them.
And they were put in the freezer. And they weren't the glazed donuts are okay.
Sure.
But they're kind of too sugary for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the cake,
It's a cake.
the cake blueberry
floured.
donuts that are warm,
Uh,
I've moved them up to number 13 on my best things in life
Yes.
list.
they're good.
I moved them up because
Yeah.
they were like 18. But after this morning,
Well, another thing, they've got fruit in there, so that's healthy for you. Or is that?
yeah, Wesley,
No,
I think that's a stretch. But
Okay.
yeah, if you want to say blueberries are an antioxidant and they're
Yeah.
mixed in with your, well, I need to go get 4 more of them then
That's right.
That's where I was going with that.
because I only ate one,
Yeah.
and I wanted to sit down and eat the whole box
Yeah.
just right there and tell myself I deserved it.
Yeah.
I could have those things.
Are wonderful. They are.
They're wonderful. So you guys agree with me? Right now we'll leave them at number 13.
That's
Yep.
right. We'll leave it
The
there.
best things in life.
Mhm.
Warm blueberry donuts.
It's like a cake. It's almost like a cake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Texture
Anyway.
to it.
Anyway, yeah. Birthday today. I'm 61.
16. I mean, you said 61,
I don't
6 or
feel like
6.
16. I think the human body peaks at 60. But I 61. So I said, I'm 61. So I've entered the decade of Social Security decision making.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So Fred, I'm eligible next year, right?
62.
Okay. What did you do though?
I waited until I was 67. Now, there are debates. Some people say you got to calculate, start at 62,
Right.
you start getting a check. But the longer you wait, the higher amount of money you get in Social Security. A lot of people.
But you have to take it by 67, right?
No.
You can wait.
No, you can wait until you're 70. We have one of my colleagues here waited until he was turning.
What
70.
What is the bump from 67 to 70? Do you know?
It's not that. That's where the calculation. If you go on YouTube and you put in how long should I wait to take Social Security, you will get a plethora of opinions from experts. They're all experts.
Right.
Some will say 62. Some will say around 67. Some will say, no, wait until you're 70. But then you have others who say, no, you take it around 67 and you're going to get 3 years worth of checks that you wouldn't normally get until you're 70. And then they throw in the idea, which is very true, you don't know when you're going to die. So if you take it at 70 and you knew you were going to pass away at 75, you're robbing yourself of a lot of financial resources. So you will start to get all kinds of advice, Tim.
But I don't think you're on your deathbed at 72 going, dadgummit, I should have waited. I'd have got more money. I should have taken it earlier.
Yeah, but that debate is there.
That debate. Yeah, well, I'm leaning towards 67. I'm 61 now.
I like that number.
Yeah. Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that number.
All right, leaning towards 67. And Wesley, Fred and I,
Trying to feel how I'm
Well,
going
we're
to be
kinda-
included in this one.
we don't want to tell you. I don't know who's going to tell you this, but you're not going to have to make any of these decisions because Social Security ain't going to be
Gonna be
here.
there.
It ain't going to be here for you. You're paying for me and Fred.
That's right.
So
I really
hear.
appreciate that,
You're
Wesley.
welcome.
Thank
Oh,
you
well,
so much.
Just
You're
save
gonna-
your money, son, because you're on your own.
Y'all going to get me started on what
Yeah.
I think about the government being involved.
Oh, we
in
don't want to
my-
get Wesley started on federal government conspiracies, or we'll be here. We'll be getting the FBI be out here out in front of our building.
Not as much conspiracy as much as I think that they should stay out of what my retirement plan is.
Oh, you want your own money? You want to
Well,
invest it yourself?
I think yes, and I think I'm 100% responsible for the money that I make.
Well,
uh,
I agree with you. Here's the problem with that. We don't want to. This is going to take us 5 more minutes, and this.
we don't have to. We
All
we
right.
can table this.
This is my personal opinion. I always have to say this. I don't speak for anybody or the ministry.
Yeah,
I'm just
I
saying.
got one
that-
too though.
I'm just saying the personal opinion. I want to just say that with Social Security,
Sure.
I'm in agreement with you principally that everybody should be responsible for their own financial planning in terms of retirement.
Right.
However, we have a lot of stupid people in this country, and they're not going to save squat.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're poor and they don't have the ability to save. There are some people who fall into that category, and there are some people who waste. Anyway, so I don't think it's a bad idea. This is me.
Generally speaking.
To have a safety net, a bare minimum sort of safety net for people when they get ready to retire, so that they don't commit suicide or.
I
You
agree
still-
with you
you know,
100%.
okay.
I think that you should be able to opt in or opt out.
Well, that's that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
But
as long as you don't.
I'm
you know,
not.
when
I'm not a complete.
You opt out, and then you get to be 65, and you go, and I wish I'd have opted in.
Oh
'cause-
sure,
You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
But there's no opt out. I mean, you're just compulsory, and it is big government, and it is socialism to an extent. But I'm just
That
saying,
I'm not going to get there.
I'm just saying, looking around at the people, I'm glad that there is Social Security. Is what I'm
Oh
saying.
sure.
All right, but that's just me again.
You're welcome. I started that.
That's not in the Bible.
That's
Okay.
But
I
if
don't
you're
think-
taking Social Security, you ought to, say, I paid into it for years.
That's right.
No, it's not a. It's not a.
Absolutely.
It's
30,
not,
40 years.
It's not a handout.
No.
No.
In
I agree.
fact, even though I've started to take Social Security, I'm still paying for it in my paycheck every.
Right.
There's a deduction.
Yeah, I'm tracking with you.
Yeah, and then also you got the problem of less workers supporting more people because people are living longer.
Mhm.
Now that's why they have raised the age.
That's right.
You know, they keep pushing the age back because the the what do you call it? Life expectancy
Yes.
has been going up
Yes.
for people because of various and sundry reasons. All right, Dr. Alex McFarland will be with us at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk to him about when to take Social Security.
Yeah.
And those kinds of things.
That's
We'll talk to Alex about some good stuff. Alex is always doing good stuff. He'll also comment on the there's a last night was Super Tuesday, and we'll get to the presidential election in just a minute. But in North Carolina, there's a gentleman running for governor on the Republican side. He's the current lieutenant governor. His name again is
Mark Robinson.
Mark Robinson, and he's a preacher too, right?
Yeah.
By vocation.
He is an unapologetic conservative on all the points that you can think of.
Yeah. Now, do we have his clip?
We do.
Yes.
We do. What are we about to hear, Wes? So this one, what we're about to listen to went viral a couple of years ago or so?
5 years ago, there was a viral video of the gentleman we're about to listen to, and he's answering he's covering the topic of the Second Amendment because it came up after a shooting. They were wanting to take away. They were trying to limit gun rights, and this is his comments to that 5 years ago.
When are you all going to start standing up for the majority? And here's who the majority is. I'm the majority. I'm a law-abiding citizen who's never shot anybody, never committed a serious crime, never committed a felony. I've never done anything like that. But it seems like every time we have one of these shootings, nobody wants to put the blame where it goes, which is at the shooter's feet. You want to put it at my feet. You want to turn around and restrict my right, constitutional right that's spelled out in black and white. You want to restrict my right to buy a firearm and protect myself from some of the very people you're talking about in here tonight. It's ridiculous. I don't think Rod Serling could come up with a better script.
That's Mark Robinson. Just
Mark
a clip.
Robinson.
Now, there's many more clips we could play.
He's got a bunch of them.
He's
like
obviously very conservative, African-American pastor. He was elected lieutenant governor.
That is correct.
And we'll ask, Alex lives in North Carolina.
Correct.
I have an idea Alex probably voted for him.
He assumed office in January 9th of 2021.
And he's running for governor.
And if he wins, he would be the first black governor of North Carolina.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll ask Alex about his chances there. North Carolina's pink.
Yeah.
It's not solid red and it's not blue. It's not really purple. It sort of leans red, I guess you could say, in many respects. But a lot of the reason for that is a lot of New England retirees have moved down there. New York and New England retirees have moved down there, and it's changed the demographics of the state of North Carolina.
And UNC, I mean, you've got the university influence there.
Yeah. All right, you're listening to today's issues on American Family Radio. Remember that name, Mark Robinson.
And pray for him.
Yes,
Pray for him.
absolutely. He's a brother.
Yep.
We need more like him
Yes.
running for office.
All right, so what's the big announcement this morning from South Carolina?
Nikki won every state. I'm sorry. No, she didn't. She lost every state.
Except
Maine. No, not Maine.
Vermont. Yeah, as I was watching the results come in last night, Trump was winning the Republican primaries. We're talking 80% of the vote, 20% going to Haley. I got to thinking, Nikki Haley, she's probably somewhere tonight. I think it was Charleston last night in South Carolina, thinking and looking at those results. What's she going to do? Well, apparently around midnight last night, the Wall Street Journal broke the story that Nikki Haley had decided to suspend her campaign. And just about an hour and 20 minutes ago, Nikki Haley went before her supporters there in Charleston, South Carolina, to make the announcement official. Here's a little bit of what she had to say. Cut number 4.
The time has now come to suspend my campaign. I said I wanted Americans to have their voices heard. I have done that. I have no regrets. In all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee when our party convention meets in July. I congratulate him and wish him well. I have always been a conservative Republican and always supported the Republican nominee. But on this question, as she did on so many others, Margaret Thatcher provided some good advice when she said, quote, "Never just follow the crowd. Always make up your own mind." It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. And I hope he does that. At its best, politics is about bringing people into your cause, not turning them away. And our conservative cause badly needs more people. This is now his time for choosing. I end my campaign with the same words I began it, from the book of Joshua. I direct them to all Americans, but especially to so many of the women and girls out there who put their faith in our campaign. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for God will be with you wherever you go.
That's Nikki Haley this morning in Charleston, South Carolina, announcing she was suspending her campaign. That is presidential campaign. As with all politicians, that is code for I'm dropping out.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really code. She told you she's dropping out, but they call it suspending the campaign. They do that for some kind of
Technical reason, maybe?
well, I think it's so they can still raise money to pay off debts in their campaign. I think that's why they quote suspend their campaign instead of just stop it. But for all practical purposes, she's pulling out of the.
I thought it was interesting, her phraseology. She said she wished Donald Trump well. That is not an endorsement.
No, it's close, don't you think?
Yeah, but it's I wish him well. It's not an endorsement.
It's saying it's his time. It's his time to unify the party. Basically, is what.
And she gave him some advice. Now he has to win the hearts and minds of people who have been voting for her, and that's her challenge to Donald Trump this morning.
Yeah. What do you think, Wesley?
Not, I didn't. I'm not overcritical about what she said. I thought, considering where she's coming from and considering where we're going, I think that was fine.
Right.
But obviously, she didn't go out there and pull Vivek and say he's the best thing.
Ramaswamy. I'll just say that because Ed's not here.
Yeah, Ramaswamy.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
She's obviously not in that camp. As far as embracing Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You see that.
Well, she was the last woman standing between Donald Trump and the Republican nomination, and he won handily all over the country last night, Super Tuesday. So she had no quote path to go forward in terms of any chance at all to win. When you have no chance at all to win, people stop giving money, and they stop working for you. So your campaign dies whether you want it to or not. So it's going to be. There's when is the Republican convention?
It's in July.
Yeah. I thought that you're right, Fred. It wasn't I endorse Donald Trump, but she was gracious. I thought in her comments towards Donald Trump. Politics is rough and tumble, and it sometimes gets ugly. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. That's human nature. And when you get to a situation where you have people involved in primaries, you're taking shots at each other, but ultimately, Republicans and Democrats, they ultimately almost always come together in the end to oppose what they consider to be the worst, candidate, which would be either the Republican or the Democrat, depending on which.
Yep.
Now the challenge will be there's challenges for Biden and there's challenges for Trump, both. The challenge for Biden is on his left, if you can believe you can get to the left of the Biden administration, but his support of Israel, albeit it's been slipping, his support of Israel is angered a lot of the Arabs and the Muslims in Minnesota. That's a big swing state. And in Michigan, that's a big swing state. They lean blue, but they're still swing states. They're very close in statewide elections. So he made them mad because he supports Israel. He's been supporting Israel. I'm talking about Biden.
Yep.
And
I don't know. Would you say he's supporting Israel as much as he's against Hamas, or
no? Well,
you understand what I'm saying?
He supported Israel. Biden did at the outset.
That's right.
Okay, after October 6th. But I'm just saying he's been waffling.
That's right.
Calling for ceasefires and all this stuff. He's been waffling his support of Israel the last, what would you say, 6 weeks or so?
6 weeks, yeah, you're right.
But just the fact that he supports Israel at all,
that's
angers the Muslim population in Michigan and
Yes.
Minnesota, and the ones in Minnesota, as we talked to Jan Markell about, there's the Somalis up there that Obama brought into our country.
But that group of people, you're not, to your point,
Yeah.
you're not going to win them over unless you're in support of Hamas.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much.
Pretty much. But again, that's a challenge, because the question will be, will they come back and vote for Biden and the Democrats as they typically would in November? That's a long time from now. And of course, a lot can happen in Israel and that war between now and then. So
there's
that's
a lot of time for both President Biden and former President Donald Trump to unify
unify their parties and solidify their votes. So that's the challenge over there for the Democrats and Biden. Also, his with the independent voters in this country, just watching the poor fella every day is a reminder that he is not up to the job mentally and physically.
No, I thought it was an interesting contrast night. Last night there was a big party down in Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
President Trump comes out. If we have time, maybe play a clip or two from his speech. But he's right into election mode. He's talking about the border crisis, all that sort of thing. All the Democrats did was put out a statement, a written statement from Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Joe Biden had a good night last night. I mean, he cleaned up for the Democrats on the Democrat primaries. But they put out a statement. I think it was a 2-sentence statement.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Last night they could have capitalized on that.
Yeah.
But they were afraid to put that man out at 10:30, 11 o'clock last night.
And remember, this is the same guy whose team said, no, you're not going to the Super Bowl and doing an interview.
Oh, you mean doing an interview with CBS? That would have been taped or live prior to the Super Bowl.
Prior to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's actually smart. I don't think it's smart on the part of the people who control Biden's public appearances to not put him out here very much at all, because, I mean, he ran from the basement in 2020, right?
That's right.
Now, for Trump, he also has challenges, because there is that percentage, albeit small, of Republican voters who are going to the primaries, 30%.
30%.
20 to 30% roughly across the board. They're not voting for Donald Trump. They're voting for Nikki Haley, namely, or somebody else. You know, DeSantis still gets a few votes here or there. Anyway, so Trump will need to make sure that those people come to vote for him in November. So I think they will. But still, he needs to reach out to them and bring them into the fold as much as possible. Yeah. So that's his challenge. You know, how many of those people are, quote, never going to vote for Trump? They're going to vote for somebody. Maybe they're going to vote for RFK. That's another wild card here. Yeah,
his Donald Trump's vice president pick is going to be really important.
Who's that going to be, Fred?
Wesley? Well, it was really interesting. We got to go to a break here, but there's
Hey, that's good. No. Make people come back to hear that.
Okay. There was an interview with a possible candidate last night.
Okay, that's a good way to get people to come back.
Tease them.
Okay.
Yep.
We put the radio tease out there. So when we get back, Fred Jackson's going to tell us who's on the radar for vice president pick for Donald Trump. And all right, and so Wesley, Fred, and I will be back. Now, Dr. Alec McFarland will be with us in just a few minutes as well, so you don't want to miss that. You're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thank you as always, for listening to our radio network and our program here. We'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
From my high school days, I recall a poem about a man by the name of Paul Revere. Do you remember how it began? Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. Now, those may not be the exact words, but they remind us of that poem which we had to memorize. There was another person who made a similar ride during that War of Independence. I doubt that you've ever heard of her. Her name was Sybil Ludington. She was only 16 years of age the night her father received a message that the British had just destroyed a neighboring city and advancing toward their home. Sybil volunteered to ride through the countryside in the middle of the night to warn other residents of the approaching enemy and to call them to arms in defense. All night Sybil rode, going from farmhouse to farmhouse, warning the farmers that British soldiers were advancing and telling them to join in the preparation for battle. When one compares these two rides, he discovers that the poet perhaps did an injustice by writing of Paul Revere. For Paul Revere rode only 10 miles in his famous ride, yet Sybil Ludington rode about 40 miles, and her ride was far more effective. The comparison points out something we need to remember in life. It isn't always the person who does the most good who gets the greatest acclaim. Many have been the number of people who have made outstanding and lasting contributions to society whose name is known by only a few. Don't think that the contribution you make isn't too important simply because your name isn't spread across the country in the mass media. For despite what we think, those who make the headlines are not the only ones who contribute to the good of mankind. More often than not, they aren't even the major ones. If fate should happen to give you the reward of public recognition for the good you do, well and fine. But if not, just remember that your contribution is in no way diminished simply because the world does not know your name. After all, the reason we do the good which we do isn't to gain public recognition. The reason we do it is because we know what we should do. In fact, a person who gets angry because he fails to get public recognition for something he has contributed to society really isn't a person who needs publicity. Above us, keeping watch over us, is one who sees the good we do. He isn't necessarily impressed by the headlines, but he is impressed when we do the best we can with what we have to do with. And it is his recognition, not the public's, which really matters after all is said and done. While the world may not know your name, just remember that he does.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not extinguish. He will faithfully bring forth justice. He will not grow weak or discouraged before he has established justice on the earth. In his law the islands will put their hope. Isaiah 42, 3 and 4.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. If you want to send us an email,
Positive, encouraging.
absolutely.
You're welcome.
We want, if you want to send us an email, you really need to think about that because we want positive and encouraging emails. We call them K-Love emails. And so you can do that at comments@afr.net, comments@afr.net, comments@afr.net. So before you fire off an angry email, just ask yourself, is it really worth it?
48. In baseball travel ball coaching world, it's called a 48-hour rule. You have to wait 2 days
Before you unleash on somebody?
before you unleash.
Because you might dial it back or
Yeah,
might consider it's not worth it?
Exactly.
Or you go off
48 hours.
Okay. But now when you're coaching a baseball game and an umpire messes up, you can't wait 48 hours, can you?
No, that's just specifically a rule specifically for the parents to the coaches. 48 hours.
Oh, because they're emotional?
That's right.
But does it work both ways, parents and coaches?
And coaches. Coaches have to wait 48 hours.
So if you're really upset with a parent, for example, you say to them, hey, parent.
Come back in 2 days.
In 2 days, you wait. Because, check your inbox in 48 hours.
That's it.
Okay. Listen. It's biblical wisdom to sleep on something, right?
That's right.
So to speak. That's the way we phrase things, right, Fred?
Yep.
That's the point.
Cool down.
Cool down before you unleash on people. All right. Well, joining us right now is our good friend Dr. Alex McFarland. Joining us, I guess Alex is in his home state of North Carolina today. Good morning, Alex.
Greetings from North Carolina.
How you doing, brother?
I'm blessed. How about you guys?
What are you and Brother Bert going to cover this afternoon on Exploring the Word here?
Well, we are in the book of Judges, the Old Testament book of Judges, and yesterday we kind of wrapped up the life of Samson, a very storied career he had. Today, when we get through with today's issues, Bert and I, along with Brent Austin, we're going to record several shows for backup shows. Sometimes when Bert and I are traveling, we have to do a pre-record. So that's what we're going to work on this afternoon.
I got you. Okay, Alex, you can feel free to join the conversation. We're going to get back to what we were talking about before the break for just a moment. Fred, you were saying about the...
Well, now that, in case folks are just joining us, Nikki Haley is out of the race. She made the formal announcement this morning. So the attention will now turn to who will be Donald Trump's running mate. And some names have been mentioned. But this morning, Fox and Friends did an interview with Tulsi Gabbard. Now, she was a Democrat, represented Hawaii, but since has become very independent of the Democratic Party. In fact, many times she talks like a conservative. So one of the Fox and Friends hosts, Ainsley Earnhardt, asked Tulsi Gabbard whether she would be interested in being Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. Here's what she had to say, cut number 6.
Many in the party would like to see you on the ticket to be his vice president. What's your response to that?
I'd be honored to serve our country in that way and be in a position to help President Trump actually solve these very, very serious problems that we're experiencing both here at home as it relates to border security, as it relates to our economy, as it relates to public safety, as well as the serious national security and foreign policy challenges that we face.
So there you have it. She didn't say, nah, I'm not interested. She said, I'd be glad to serve in that position. Her name has been mentioned before. Now, she is conservative on those issues that she mentioned. But some people have pointed out not so much conservative on the social issues, which are important to Christians.
She's pretty weak. I don't care for her position on the Second Amendment either. She's pretty weak there. But coming from the Democrat side of where she started, she's come a long ways through the reality of Democrat policies.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to take anything away from how far she's come and how conservative she is from where she started. But I don't.
Alex, what do you think about what kind of person do you think will be the VP for Trump's on the Trump ticket?
I could be wrong, and I've really, really thought about this, but if I had to guess, and this is just speculation by an uninformed, bystander, I think it's going to be Ben Carson.
Okay.
I think I've said that too. I'm not saying I think that's his best option in order to win. In order to win the general election, I think Ben Carson would give him the best.
I think Ben Carson's dynamic personality will overshadow Donald Trump.
Not going to happen.
So I don't,
Yeah, you're kidding.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I love Ben Carson. I've been around
But he's
him.
the Mike Pence.
He is. That's
He's
why I
the,
said
he's the
that.
anecdote to Trump's boisterous.
Yeah.
100%. That's why I say.
Listen,
I agree, Alex.
listen.
You
Go ahead.
know, we've had him speak for us in Truth for New Generation conferences. We've prayed with him. He carries a peace about him. He really does. I have a immeasurable respect for Brother Ben Carson, and I will tell you, he's not the world's most charismatic speaker. In fact, when we've had him speak, he's really almost too laid back sometimes, but he carries a peace and a composure about him that I think is impressive.
Oh yeah, obviously I was teasing.
Yeah.
And I guess dynamic is a word people would say. Sometimes who defines what dynamic is. Dr. Ben Carson is a highly intelligent man. He is a man of Christian conviction.
Amen.
He's a solid conservative on all the issues that I'm aware of. He does have a mild-mannered, with nothing wrong with that, a mild-mannered presence, and as you say, he's brings peace. And he's a very peaceful man. So I think it would be from a person that I think all of us could trust to be in the vice president's chair.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That we could support because we understand he's one of us. I think Dr. Ben Carson would be an outstanding choice. I don't know how much he brings, or it doesn't even matter. Probably doesn't even matter, quite frankly. How many votes he would help bring in with former President Trump on a ticket.
I think he would be an excellent Secretary of Health.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What was he? But he was something like that for Trump earlier. What was he?
Wasn't he HUD?
Oh yeah, housing and urban development.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's already worked with Trump for those 4 years.
Yeah.
He's a trusted colleague.
Right.
And definitely a born again believer.
You think he would take that if offered? I mean, does anybody know?
VP?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I think he would.
Okay.
But
Any reason he wouldn't?
Okay. So you ain't going. We're just speculating here, people. But that Dr. Ben Carson's a real possibility. I've heard that before from other people, and Tulsi Gabbard was on Fox News saying she would take that if she were offered that position.
Yeah. I think he's going to lead towards a female this time.
Yeah. I think with Trump, he does need some shoring up with
Absolutely.
With women, because women voters, because that's where he's really lagging behind when he go against Biden. So it could be.
Yep.
Could be a woman. Who that would be? Some people suggested maybe South Dakota Governor Nome, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Elise Stefanik.
That's a possibility.
Elise Stefanik.
From New York, the Congresswoman.
Possibility.
From New York.
Yep.
But it won't be Nikki Haley, you don't think?
Don't think so.
Stranger things have happened.
I know. It's weird. I heard one of the commentators last night, going back to 2000, I guess it was, and the bitterness between George W. Bush and John McCain.
Yeah.
He was saying it was horrible, and it took 1.5 years to mend their ways.
Mm-hmm.
But so politics is so strange. You can be spitting and hollering at each other for a year, and then all of a sudden we're buddies. Trump and Ted Cruz, Trump and DeSantis. I mean, hard to understand this sometimes. Well,
I think what happens is if you're mature enough to handle that situation, and I think people who've been in politics a long time are you have to be able to compartmentalize. Okay, by that I mean you have to be willing to look at what's the greater good.
Amen.
Okay, what's the greater good? What's the ultimate objective? And if in politics in our country right now, with the way the Democrats are, namely by the Biden administration, what they're doing is destroying our country. It really is.
Yeah.
It's destroying our country, especially this. We've talked about it ad nauseum. The letting people into our country illegally by the millions, and they don't care. That's going to destroy our country.
Yep. Tim, let me say this. It's like 2 weeks ago we heard Donald Trump in Nashville at NRB, and there was a lot that was said, but I just want to make a plea to my Christian friends out there, and certainly pastors. And I've pastored 2 churches and spoken in 2,000 churches. Literally, I have. And I want to beg the Christians of America to please don't let your tolerance level for impoliteness cost us this election. And by that, what I'm saying is, see, the left, they know how to unify together for their cause. And we conservative Christians, we're the 3 C's, conservative, Christian, constitutionalist. And very often, I've had endless numbers of pastors say to me, they'll say, Brother Alex, I just don't know how you can support Donald Trump. He's just abrasive. And look, we got a nation to save here. Now, I happen to know from my friend Robert Jeffers and my former boss, James Dobson, both men have told me, they said, look, make of it what you will, but we heard Donald Trump pray the sinner's prayer. Now, I'm not saying only God knows another man's heart, but look, if it's Biden versus Trump, this is not a hard decision to make, folks.
Well, there's too much at stake. There's too much at stake from the Supreme Court, the federal judiciary. You got to, and I think, as I say, I think most thinking people, in the end of the day, realize when it comes to a binary choice, there's 2 ways to view it. You need to promote what's good, but you also have to vote sometimes to stop what's evil. All right.
Exactly.
And so that definitely is going to be as we head to November. Go ahead.
And I would just add to what Alex was saying. For those who say, "Well, I'm not going to vote for either one," that is a vote for Joe Biden.
Oh, absolutely.
Amen.
Because the left's not going to do that.
Yeah.
And let me just say, and put on my pastor hat here, everybody, all of life is stewardship. And to be entrusted with a vote, that's a stewardship issue. And just like we don't throw money away and we are not to be wasteful, a vote, a chance to, on a one voice, one vote, minuscule scale perhaps, but we can influence the election. We cannot opt out and not vote. And in Nashville with NRB, we were down there, Bert Harper and I, and AFA, we were there at NRB, and I had the privilege, I spent over an hour with George Barna. And Barna said there are probably more, but bare minimum, 100 million American adults that are born-again Christians. Well, that being the case, and Barna and I talked about this, if Christian adults would get out and vote righteously, and folks, it's not hard to figure out what that looks like in this year. Hey, this thing's a done deal.
Yeah.
And like you said, Tim, so much is at stake. And so, folks, please pray and please get out there and vote and influence your friends to do the same.
Yeah, and we have, speaking of voting, in your state of North Carolina,
yes,
Alex, we have a gubernatorial race coming up in November. And the Republicans have chosen their candidate. You know all this.
Yeah.
We're about to hear a clip from him in just a moment, but tell me who Mark Robinson is.
Well, Mark Robinson is kind of a local hero. You all know I live near Greensboro, and Mark Robinson, about 5 years ago in Greensboro at a city council meeting, he got up and gave a speech that is kind of famously known, and I would encourage people to watch it on YouTube, the I Am the Majority speech. and he was talking about how the left wants to disarm citizens. But
we played that
That's it.
before you came on. We played that the last half hour.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we played that clip, about 2 minutes of it. Yeah.
But all around Greensboro, and that's home turf for my family. Mark Robinson is known as just an exemplary Christian man, very vocal, absolutely fearless, a man of conviction and courage. He's running against a gentleman named Josh Stein, who's the Democrat. But as my family's been in North Carolina 200 years, and I'm hoping Mark Robinson is our next governor.
All right, we're about to hear from him. We're about to play a clip right now from Mark Robinson. Is this recent?
He was at a church, and he's talking about the LGBTQ activist movement.
But anything you want to add to that, Wes?
Nope.
Okay, go.
Ain't nothing but men and women. You can go to the doctor and get cut up. You can go down to the dress shop and get made up. You can go down there and get drugged up. But at the end of the day, you were just a drugged up, dressed up, made up, cut up, man or woman. You ain't changed what God put in you, that DNA. You can't transcend God's creation. I don't care how hard you try. The transgender movement in this country, if there's a movement in this country that is demonic and that is full of the spirit of Antichrist, it is the transgender movement.
Wow.
Ambiguity like that, it really bothers me in politics. And unless Brother Robinson can come out and be clear about what he thinks and what he believes, then I'm just going to have to look somewhere else.
I got to tell you, it makes you want to be in North Carolina just so you could vote for him.
I told you in our show prep, every clip I've heard of him or any speech that I've listened to him.
But does he have a chance to
very
win,
clear.
Alex? Honestly, because you know what the left's going to do with a sermon. That was a sermon right there, which was I'm going amen, brother.
Lauding.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about how the left.
Well,
the
he's
media,
been voted in as lieutenant governor of the state.
Yeah.
Already.
he's already won a statewide election.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
21.
Okay.
Yeah, he is the 35th lieutenant governor. And let me say this. The Republicans are well aware of the hit campaign they're going to launch on Mark Robinson, and the Robinson campaign is well aware of how to handle it. But yeah, they're going to call him every bad name in the book. But
they're going to say he's trying to mix church and state right there, and you know how they're going to do this.
Oh yeah.
So, but he's already gone through that, been prepared for that, and if he's already won a statewide election.
Yeah, I mean, he is in Raleigh as our lieutenant governor.
Then he can. Then I would say,
He's past that
I
test.
answer my own question. He can win.
Yeah.
If he's already won a statewide election, they may be probably be close. Like generally, all elections are in North Carolina now. Statewide elections,
And-
they're pretty close. Go ahead.
Hey, and let me tell you, my mom was very involved. She was at one time, before my parents got married years and years ago, Mom was president of North Carolina Young Republicans. And there have been several, let me just say, voter fraud exists in North Carolina. So that's something that Republicans always have to be mindful of. I mean, I'm just saying it. North Carolina Democrats have a rich history of voter fraud. They just do.
Yeah.
And so, but Mark Robinson is one that a lot of North Carolinians, myself included, are very thankful that he's become a public servant.
All right, can you tell us how we can get in touch with him to get him on the radio? We'd like to interview him.
Yeah.
Or we'd like to let him preach. Either one.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get right on that. Yes.
We'd like to have him on because I'd love to talk. I know people who know the brother, but I'd like to talk to him. Lieutenant. Yeah. Well, we have had him on, but it's been about 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson of North Carolina. Boy, you talk about making the lefties upset. You got a black man who's a pastor, who is lieutenant governor of North Carolina, and he might be the next governor. And they're going to call him what is it they call him, Uncle Tom?
And he's a constitutional conservative.
They're going to call him Uncle. Yeah, they're going to call him Uncle Tom. They're going to do the Clarence Thomas.
Yep.
On him is what they're going to do. Well, they've already done it.
Yeah,
but they're going to try to do it some more. I don't think.
Isn't that sad how the liberals are so fickle? I mean, you look at like a Clarence Thomas or a Dr. Ben Carson or a Mark Robinson, the quintessential American success story, and an ethnic minority risen to the stratosphere by hard work and conviction.
Well, do you remember what Biden said when he was on that radio show with the?
I know.
He said, if you
don't vote for me, then you ain't
black. Yeah, this when it was him and Trump in 2020. Yeah, you ain't black if you don't vote for Democrats. What Biden said.
What he said.
How insulting is that?
Hey, I got to say this. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his 1963 Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Why We Can't Wait, which is a great overtly Christian book. But Dr. King said this. And I've said it before on today's issues, but it's worth repeating. Dr. King said, and this is a quote, he said, he was basically saying, vote conviction and policy, not party. And he said it would be disastrous. That was his word. And the word he used, the Negro vote, that was his terminology. He said it would be disastrous if the Negro vote was ever in the hip pocket of one political party. Now, that was in 1960. Yeah, that's in that book. And I thought, that's precisely, well, almost completely what has happened.
Yeah.
Now, and, there are many, though, and, hey, I'm a registered Republican, but I'm all about the policies and positions. What shapes my vote, and my wife Angie, is our biblical and moral convictions. But a lot of African-American voters, I truly think, and by the way, this is a whole other subject, I think the stranglehold the Democrat Party has had on the Jewish vote is loosening too, guys. Mm-hmm. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and the Hispanics, they don't vote lockstep Democrat anymore. I don't know that they ever did, but they're 60-40. They do. A majority of Hispanic folks do vote Democrat, but it's not that big a gap anymore.
Nope.
And anyway, one other while we got a minute or two left here, Alex, you've got your summer youth camps coming up all over the country. How many are you doing, and what are they about?
I'm doing 6 camps, and then I'm helping out with 2 others. But it's Biblical Worldview Camp. The website is equipretreat.org. Oh, my goodness, it's great. Middle school and high school will have over 1,200 kids. And number one, we talk about Jesus and how to be saved. But then we talk about biblical worldview, and the kids love it. I mean, they really do. And let me encourage you, we're almost full, but the website, equipretreat.org, or you can go to just my website, alexmcfarland.com. But, Tim, here's our goal. We do all the fun camp stuff, play the guitar, roast marshmallows, but we're trying to woke-proof America's kids.
Amen. So where can you find out where these are going to be?
Just go to my website, alexmcfarland.com, and you'll find the tab that goes to the camp.
And you're having 6 of them?
Yeah.
What's the closest one to Tupelo?
Probably Georgia. Would be the closest one.
But aren't you in Tennessee?
We are in Tennessee. We're in Montana, New Jersey,
but where in
Indiana.
Tennessee? Do you know?
To be honest, I don't even know.
All right, well, we'll check it out.
Tennessee.
The reason I'm asking, I would like for our team here at Today's Issues to go on site at one of your camps and talk to some of these kids.
Let's do it.
I'd like to do that, but I don't want to drive,
North
Montana.
East corner.
I don't want to drive to Montana. I'd love to go to Montana and will one day.
Tennessee's long.
Yeah.
So if you go all the way to the north,
I know. That's why I was asking you, is it West or Middle Tennessee or?
I'll have all the info within a day.
Or is it in Tennessee that's part of North Carolina? All right. Thank you, Alex. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Stay with us, everybody.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
There's a lot happening around us. That's why Christians need to stand strong on family values and morality. Hi, I'm Ray Rooney, editor of The Stand, a blog from the American Family Association. The Stand has timely, carefully written articles on relevant cultural issues that you can quickly forward to others. Visit afa.net/The Stand.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Nikki Haley is exiting the presidential race after only winning one state on Super Tuesday. Jackie Heinrich reports from the White House.
The Biden campaign, they have been saying that the longer Nikki Haley stays in the race, the better for them. You had a second person on the headlines, in the airwaves, who was slamming Donald Trump as a risk to democracy. And that is how the Biden campaign has been framing their 2024 approach, basically hammering on the threat to democracy that Trump poses, hearkening back to January 6th, searing in people's minds images of his efforts to overturn the election. And they've been more than happy to see Nikki Haley echoing some of their messaging.
Meanwhile, the stage is set in the Golden State Senate race.
Democrat and former House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff will take on Republican and former Major League Baseball MVP Steve Garvey after Tuesday night's California primary. House members Katie Porter and Barbara Lee were eliminated in the jungle primary, meaning the two candidates with the most votes would advance regardless of party. While Schiff will be heavily favored in the blue state, some GOP strategists believe having a Republican on the ticket instead of two Democrats will help GOP House members in competitive districts that could determine control of the House. The winner will replace Dianne Feinstein, the longest-serving female senator in U.S. history, who passed away last year. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Joe Biden's administration has admitted transporting illegal aliens on secret flights into the U.S., and lawyers for its immigration agencies claim revealing the locations could create national security problems. Customs and Border Protection has refused to disclose information about a program last year secretly arranging flights for thousands of illegals from foreign airports directly to U.S. cities. National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd says it means that while record numbers of illegals were flowing over the southern border last year, the Biden White House was also directly transporting them into the country.
You look at what this administration is doing, it's very upsetting on two different levels. First, they're abusing the parole system. If you look historically, we've only allowed about 5,000 people per year into the country on the parole system. And then on top of that, it puts extreme pressure on law enforcement officers. We're in a fentanyl crisis right now, and we're pulling law enforcement officers out of the field to vet these individuals as they land in our airports and at our ports of entry. It's ridiculous to think that we can control our borders in crime.
A respected evangelical pastor takes on the issue of so-called Christian nationalism.
The left, it seems, is increasingly concerned about politically active Christians, warning the world that Christian nationalism is at the doorstep and threatens to replace the Constitution with a New Testament or something like that. In a Q&A at Grace Community Church in Southern California, Pastor John MacArthur said it's a made-up term.
There is no such thing as Christian nationalism. The kingdom of God is not of this world.
Amillennialism is the closest thing he could come up with that approximated so-called Christian nationalism. Amillennialism claims that the millennium started with the resurrection of Christ, and the church will influence culture for good until heaven on earth is realized. That's not MacArthur's theology.
The end of human history is not the church triumphant reigning in the world. At the end of human history, the believers are persecuted and murdered.
He says nothing that happens in any nation, communist, Muslim, Christian, has anything to do with the advancement of the kingdom of God.
So the idea that you should link up some political effort, some gain of power or influence as part of the advance of Christianity is alien to Christianity.
But he says it doesn't mean that Christians are indifferent to politics.
That is not to say that we are indifferent to what happens in the nation. We have to be the people who uphold righteousness. When we come to vote, we want to vote for that which is the most righteous option.
I'm Steve Jordahl. More news online at afn.net and the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
What does the American Family Association stand for?
We believe that our ministry, as well as everything in the heavens and on earth, belongs to God, and our role is that of a trusted manager.
These values and more are part of our mission to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. We want to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. Thank you for standing with us.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. We're here for the next 24 and a half minutes. Brett Jackson's here with me with Wesley Wildman, and now Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us. Good morning, Brother Steve.
Good morning, everybody.
All right, much to talk about, which is a good thing because it's a talk show.
Helps.
And so Brent Creeley, our producer, is raced to the other room, so I can't call on the clip right now that I wanted to, but I will momentarily. All right, Brent's back. Okay. Okay, so what we're about to do, I saw this yesterday. This is a clip, and probably be the first and last time we ever play a clip from Jon Stewart, the comedian and talk show host. He's a lefty, right? So, but this was funny, I thought. And I ran it by some other people, and they thought it was funny. At least he maintains the ability to make fun of all politicians, right?
A good comedian does.
Right, that's right. You better keep your. So here's what he had on yesterday or the day before.
By the way, the Supreme Court 9-0. The ruling was let Donnie cook. Desi, Democrats have to be disappointed in this ruling.
Yes, Democrats are doing more shower crying than normal today, John. But they are still confident that a conviction in the January 6th trial can keep Trump out of the White House.
But Desi, that's seemingly not likely going to happen before Election Day.
Right. But fortunately, Trump has 3 other criminal trials coming up. One of those has to be a conviction, so Democrats are optimistic.
But Trump can still be president if he's convicted. I mean, none of the cases would stop that.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up, John. Democrats say if none of these cases go their way, there is still another avenue to pursue.
The getting more votes scenario.
They're not there yet. They were going to lay Reese's Pieces out in a trail that leads into a golden tent labeled Mar-a-Lago that can only be zipped from the outside.
I still think the more votes.
Democrats find a witch. The witch turns Donald Trump into a bird. The bird isn't there on Election Day, having already migrated to a warmer climate.
Who was the lady?
I don't know.
It was one of his actors.
That's right.
Yeah, she was. It is funny when you watch it because the facial expressions of.
Sure.
But that you could understand the comedy there on the on just the audio, but.
Fine votes.
The witch turns Donald Trump into. This is a Democrats' plan to keep Trump out. The final one is the witch turns Trump into a bird who migrates to the warmer climate.
Yeah.
So, all right, there you go. That was Jon Stewart. We don't recommend his show.
No.
What is that? But it's his show on.
It's HBO Daily, The Daily Show.
Is it?
I don't know if.
Well, he was.
I don't watch it either.
He
so.
was in retirement for a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, Steve. What's your first story?
Well, in the same vein, why don't we just stick with the same vein? Do you remember SNL, Saturday Night Live? You remember Dana Carvey from Saturday Night Live?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's still out there. He was on a show. Actually, he was talking with I can't remember, but it was another one of those comedian alums. But I want you to hear what he has to say. This is cut 13.
I started with Biden because the border's all the rage now. Everyone's crazy for the border. So I did Biden 3 years ago, and he's at a press conference. Mr. President, do you have any idea how you're going to handle the crisis at the border? And Biden's like, first of all, let's get our facts straight. There's no crisis at the border. Come on. And he goes, how do you know, sir? He goes, because it says so on the piece of paper. Come on. It says on the paper. Says the paper right there. And then recently, everyone wants to close the border. Everyone's screaming. Biden's up there. I'll close the border harder than anyone's ever closed the border. 'Cause I know how to close borders. Come on, Jack. And the press is like, but last time, get your facts straight. Dog pays phone his shoulder. Come on, let's do some push-ups. I'll close the border like nobody's ever closed it. The border patrol, the border can't believe it's not butter.
I hadn't heard that one. That's funny.
Oh, man.
That's
He
funny.
could do, Dana Carvey could do the best George W. Bush impersonation.
Yeah.
He was,
He did it in front of Bush.
George H.W. Bush.
H.W., yeah.
He would do H.W. Bush, and he would mock George H.W. He would say, not gonna do it.
Wouldn't be prudent.
Well, no, wouldn't be, not gonna do it.
He did it in front of HW at a.
Did he?
Yeah, at one of those press that press dinner that
Yeah.
they have.
Yeah.
Back when they were fun-natured.
Yeah, back when they were
good-natured,
fun-natured, right.
ribbing. Dana Carvey, not gonna do it.
All right.
Wouldn't be prudent.
Wouldn't be prudent.
Wouldn't be prudent. All right. So, all right, Steve.
All right. Well, this also could be a comedy skit. We're not sure the way this one goes, but the Democrats are starting to come to terms with the fact that they are going to be electing an aging candidate. If it's Trump versus Biden, no matter which candidate, they're both aging. And Hillary Clinton came to this realization the other day, and she was on a radio segment with a lady named Zerlina Maxwell. And so she said, just time to admit it, Biden is old. This would be...
Somebody the other day said to me, Zerlina, well, but Joe Biden's old. I said, you know what? Joe Biden is old. Let's go ahead and accept the reality. Joe Biden is old. So we have a contest between one candidate who's old, but who's done an effective job and doesn't threaten our democracy. And we have another candidate who is old, barely makes sense when he talks, is dangerous, and threatens our democracy. So really, pick between your two old ones and figure out how you're going to save our democracy, because no matter where you stand on the political spectrum, you want to maintain freedom and the rule of law and protection for people's fundamental rights, or at least I used to think so.
Are you all clear about which one she was referring to when she was talking about the guy that didn't make sense? It sounded like like Donald Trump could use that as a campaign commercial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
The irony there is what you're pointing out.
It's rich.
It's rich.
Yes,
It's
it
rich.
is. Another element here that I've been thinking about, not a lot, because I start thinking about lunch. About time right now,
About
but
11, 12
yeah,
a.m.
I mean,
Start making lunch.
Your blueberry donut has worn off.
My blueberry. There's some more left out there, Fred.
There's a
we
lot.
Can cut the show off
They
early
brought-
and go have some. Put
Bro,
it in the micro.
boxes.
Excuse
Put
me.
it in the micro.
I'll be back.
Put it in the microwave. Still tastes good. All right, so all right. What were we talking about?
Talking about Joe Biden being old, Clinton being old, the irony.
Yeah. Okay.
Thinking about
So, with Biden. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I'm having a Joe Biden moment there. I know what I was going to say. All right. So anyway, with Biden, I don't believe. Some people believe he's controlled by Barack Obama, former president. I don't believe that. I think the influence of the Obama world on Biden was very much present when Susan Rice was in the White House. She no longer is. because I think if Barack Obama was pulling the strings for Joe Biden wouldn't be running for president again. Because Barack Obama is not an idiot. He knows that Biden has a real chance to lose, namely because of his age and his
mental deterioration.
Yes, and his feebility. Is that a word? Because if it isn't, I made it up. Nobody's challenged me on this in the last 2 days.
I'll check the Scrabble dictionary.
I'm working on it.
He's feeble. Okay, feebility. See if that's a word, or if I just made it up. Would that work in Scrabble? Feebility. Are you looking, Wesley?
I'm trying. So
I'm going to peer over here and see what you Googled up here for us.
Yeah, you're right. Feebility.
It is a word?
Yeah.
See there.
Markedly. And markedly apparently is a word. Markedly lacking in strength. And
markedly,
feeble
yeah,
man.
means remarkable or markedly. Yeah, okay. So,
Notably.
Notably.
There you go.
So, I wish Barack Obama were in charge of Joe Biden because the reason I say that is when a person gets in Joe Biden's condition, whether he has full-fledged dementia or not, I don't know. We haven't had a medical diagnosis, but we all know what we're seeing.
Mm.
And Dana Carvey right there was making fun of his denial of reality.
Right.
Biden's denial of reality on the border situation. So I don't know that anybody controls Biden right now. And if you have a man, it's like a ship without moorings or breaks away from the moorings, right? Just floating out there in the bay without, because if nobody's pulling his strings, he's basically being run by those right under him.
I'm going with the Easter Bunny.
Oh, from the Easter parade? I mean, the Easter
egg roll
2 years ago?
Yeah.
But here's what I'm going to say about that. Here's my ultimate point is the reason I don't think Obama is controlling Biden because Obama knows they need a better candidate.
Oh, yeah.
For November. And if Obama could make
did
that.
He not tell him not to run? It was unwise. He said something. He discouraged him from running.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but I remember something along those lines. But Fred, you know what I'm talking about? Biden he's in the mood now that nobody's going to tell him what to do. Mm-hmm. He's a president. Who can make me? What are the Democrats going to do? They're going to go in and invoke the 25th Amendment? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to go with what Hillary Clinton just said. Yeah, he's old, but he's effective in their view of running the country, and that's a horse.
I'm sorry, this was the first go round. This is before his.
You mean back in
2019?
Obama told him don't run
multiple times and privately tried to convince him not to run.
Well, Biden probably got elected and said, "How you like me now?"
Yeah. So I don't want to imply that he's told him that since he is mentally deteriorated. He may have said that,
yeah.
But what I know for sure is that he told him in 2019 not to.
Right, but if you get somebody, my bottom line is, you get somebody who's in that condition, and they're stubborn, and they're not gonna, they can hardly think clearly, and they can't be told what to do.
Yeah,
and they're the president. Who's going to kick them out? Who's going to say no? The only person that could intervene here would be his wife, Jill Biden, who would say, "Honey, we're not running. Yep. You need to step down. I want to enjoy whatever years we have left with our grandchildren and everything like that." But what if he says, if he's saying, like people do who get dementia, they say, "No, I'm doing fine."
I think the Bidens. I think Jill Biden, the president's wife. I think they both like power. And they figure they can repeat 2020, that they can get by this again. Remember, we talked
in the basement. You mean?
Well, they can repeat it without staying in the basement. They won't do that again.
He can win again.
Yes,
that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Somebody said something interesting this morning. One of the first things that Trump should do right now is come out and challenge Joe Biden to 4 debates.
Pick one. Yeah,
4 debates.
Yeah.
4 debates between now and November. And if they don't get a response, come out again in September and say, okay, 2 debates.
Yeah.
I want to be on a stage with you.
Yeah.
Because now we've got 4 years of Joe Biden, a total disaster on the border. The economy's in a mess. They don't want to have to get on a stage and deal with Trump dealing with reality.
Yeah. A couple things there. One is Biden didn't. They had 2 debates last time, right? They had 2. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
There's never been more than 3.
No.
But I see what you're saying, the strategy there behind that. But there's a risk there for Trump too in a debate too. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Big.
That's why.
Not as I don't think nearly as big as it is for Biden.
But does Trump says he's got all the votes he needs. So I don't know that he needs to debate. Maybe Biden needs to debate Trump.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think I hear what you're saying, but this is a mic drop. There's really nothing else to discuss if you just put them from an appearance standpoint on the stage to discuss anything.
So you think it would be advantageous for Trump to be on the stage with Biden?
No.
Given Biden's mental capacity.
That's the bottom line.
There's a reason why the other day, Biden said again, I shouldn't be in there. They told me not to take any questions. They're scared to death.
Well, I wouldn't debate.
No.
If I were Biden from a strategic standpoint, I wouldn't debate.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's good for Trump to make the challenge.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But we could almost vote tomorrow, fellas.
Yeah.
Pretty much America's got its mind made up on which way. Now, I don't know things could change, I guess, slightly, but with independent voters. But go ahead, Wesley.
Well, back to the clip that we played from Hillary Clinton agreeing that
and she's such an inspiration.
She's such an inspiration.
I
lost her
right
at the point that she said that President Joe Biden had done an effective job. So
at destroying the border.
We
cut that out.
You.
We cut that out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That Joe Biden's done an effective job. Oh my word! So then, one of two things: either A, she believes that his failed policies are effective because he's effectively tried.
Well, if you're a lefty, you like
that's what I'm saying.
You like what he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
she's okay.
Yeah, but that's how you define what is effective.
That's my point.
You want to go ahead.
To your point,
my point or Wesley's?
Both your points.
Okay.
It's his birthday though.
It's to your point, Tim.
But we'll see whether it's my point or not. Whether it's good or not. Go ahead.
You know that Joe Biden did not come out and do a victory speech last night. He won handily almost every primary except
what
for
time was
American Samoa. Well, it was after his bedtime, probably 8, 9 o'clock, I'm sure. But but KJP Karine Jean-Pierre was kind of asked about this and asked about his ability to speak contemporaneously.
She still got the same hairdo.
Still the same one.
Same old KJP.
Still the Cabbage Patch hairdo.
Appearance.
So I want you. We're gonna listen to her responding to his ability to speak, and then you're gonna hear Joe Concha responding to KJP's comments. Cut 8.
Right. You're upset because the president has note cards. You're asking me a question about the president having note cards.
I'm asking why.
The president who has had probably one of the most successful first 3 years of an administration than any modern day president.
He is polling lower, Joe Biden is, Todd, than any president in polling history at this stage of his presidency. And here you have Karine Jean-Pierre, who needs her own share of no cards, telling you that this is the most successful 3 years of any presidency in history. I mean, it is beyond. I can't even give you a response now without choking on my own utter disbelief on these answers.
Yeah, but you know what? John Kirby is just as bad. His national security advisor, John Kirby's been asked in the last 48 hours about the border situation. John Kirby has the audacity to say Biden is in complete control. He's got everything under control. He doesn't need to go down to the border. He doesn't need to talk to the head of the Border Patrol.
It just sounds worse coming from her. I don't know.
Well, she's. Listen, she makes Pinocchio look like a saint. All right, let me just say that. She does. Karine
I want to be a real press secretary.
That was Steve, ladies and
That was well played.
So, she's just a professional liar.
Well,
I'm
between
sorry to have to say that, but that's just what she is. She goes out there every day and just gaslights, and she knows. Thing about it, she knows she's doing it, and the people in the audience know she's doing it,
And those reporters know too.
and those reporters know too. And as Joe Concha there just cited, the American people say the job performance that he's doing is
all-time low,
in the low 30s or mid 30s, and so for her to say this, he represents the most successful presidency in modern history.
and these are the same polls that they would use and they would quote when
If it were reversed.
So it's an equal poll. It's a fair poll. But between KJP, Mayorkas, Hillary Clinton, John Kirby, and the list goes on, it's one thing to ignore what's going on and focus on what we're trying to do. It's another thing to say everything's going great.
Right.
I mean, like,
I know. I agree with you. It's they just tell whoppers.
I wish there was a
Every
follow-up
day.
question to that. Her
what?
Her saying that everything is beautiful. I wish there was a reporter that said, "Well, how come all the polls say 180 degrees? How come all the polls
we haven't gotten our message out, and the press is listening to Republican talking points."
She comes out angry and ready to go on anybody who says anything challenging to her,
pretty much
from the get-go, and she's a woman on edge, quite frankly. I mean, listen, we'll just play it one more time. I want you to listen. Somebody's asking her about Biden having to use note cards that tell him what time to go to lunch. I mean, that's what
or not to do anything.
Every meeting now, he's having note cards. Right, and
turn the page.
And listen. Let me just say this. There's nothing wrong with having note cards for important things. I mean, I've had them before. For you give a talk, you want notes, whatever. He has to have note cards for everything. He has to read speeches, or if he goes off script or forgets. So that's what the question was about. She gets so annoyed at just the question about using note cards. She says it like this. Go ahead.
You're upset because the president has note cards? You're asking me a question about the president having note cards?
I'm asking why.
The president who has had probably one of the most successful first 3 years of an administration than any modern day president.
He is polling lower.
It's just. What do you say?
I know. It does hold you speechless.
But now let me ask you guys this thing. Aren't press secretaries supposed to go out and tell whoppers for her boss?
Well,
is that her job?
Not a good one.
I think spin is a better word.
Yeah.
Than out and out lie. She just out and out makes stuff up.
Yes,
the good ones can spin something so that you say, well, the point of him having note cards
that's
is
a good point, Steve. You need to be a professional spinner.
Yeah.
But don't come out and just straight up lie and expect everybody to accept it without challenging you, right? When everybody knows differently.
Right. We put those. Sometimes he needs to show you the proof, and the proof is on the note card.
Also, and there's nothing wrong with a press secretary being feisty. I mean, Kayleigh McEnany was, Sarah Huckabee was, Sanders was. Mm-hmm. They're feisty. Others have been feisty. But what she has gotten a habit of here, Karine Jean-Pierre, she keeps talking over the response from the reporter. In other words, she makes a claim or says something, then she doesn't even give the reporter, especially Peter Doocy, a chance to offer a rebuttal or you know what I'm saying? She just keeps running right over them and talking to them like they're third graders. And she's the principal.
She does give Doocy a question about every day, though.
She does, but she almost has to. Go ahead.
But Kayleigh McEnany.
Kayleigh
McEnany, she would come back the moment a question like that was answered. She would open up her notebook and she would
have facts.
She would give you facts.
Yes.
Now whether you like her angle on the facts or not was different, but she gave facts. She didn't basically respond as if you're an idiot. I'm not talking to you.
Right. You got a president polling at 34% job approval with the American people, and you say this is the most successful modern presidency in modern times.
Kayleigh McEnany would have came back and go, well, in 2022, I'm giving you an example. In 2024 or 2020, he was polling this number. So,
Karine Jean-Pierre.
JP.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
A pleasure.
Thank you, Fred.
You bet.
Thank you, Wesley.
No, thank you, Dad. Happy birthday.
No, thank you, or no.
Oh, no. I want to thank you.
You thank me. Well, you're welcome.
Punctuation is very
Happy
important.
birthday. Yes.
Yes. Who was it that once said? Was it Will Ferrell who said, "You're welcome, America"? Huh? I'll just end with that.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow, everybody.
Well, there's a part of our nation's capital that's known as the